The service manager's words hit harder than any storm. The bright morning sun poured through the dealership windows as Rowan Mercer stood frozen beside his pickup truck, staring at a repair estimate that made his knees weak. $200,000. The number looked unreal, like a typo someone forgot to correct. Yet there it was, printed in bold black ink across the page. For a moment, Rowan couldn't hear anything except the pounding of his own heart. If you've ever believed in kindness, second chances, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration today, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps us bring more real-life stories that remind us never to give up. Rowan was 38 years old and raising his 10-year-old daughter, Nora, alone. Every day felt like a balancing act between responsibility and survival. Since his wife had passed away 4 years earlier after a sudden illness, life had become a non-stop cycle of work, bills, school lunches, laundry, and late-night worries. His truck wasn't just transportation. It was everything. The old electric utility truck was the vehicle he used for his small repair business. It carried his tools, supplies, and dreams. Every job he completed depended on that truck starting each morning. Without it, there would be no income. Without income, there would be no rent. Without rent, there would be no home. The truck had recently begun showing strange warning messages. One afternoon it suddenly lost power while Rowan was driving home from a job site. The dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree, forcing him to pull over. After borrowing money for a tow, he brought it to the nearest dealership. Now he stood staring at an estimate larger than the value of his entire neighborhood. According to the dealership technicians, the battery management system had failed catastrophically. They claimed the entire battery pack needed replacement. Labor costs alone were astronomical. The manager spoke confidently, explaining technical details Rowan barely understood. The conclusion remained the same. The truck was essentially finished. As Rowan drove home in silence, his mind spiraled with fear. How could he explain this to Nora? How could he tell his daughter that the vehicle supporting their lives was gone? That evening, sunlight streamed through their tiny kitchen window while Nora sat doing homework. She noticed her father's distant expression immediately. Children often see pain before adults realize they're showing it. Rowan forced a smile and helped her with math problems while hiding the panic building inside him. Later that night, after Nora fell asleep, Rowan sat alone at the kitchen table. Bills covered the surface. Utility notices. Insurance statements. School expenses. The repair estimate sat on top like a cruel joke. For hours he stared at it. Then something happened. Instead of accepting defeat, he felt a small spark of determination. It wasn't confidence. It wasn't certainty. It was simply refusal. Refusal to surrender. Refusal to believe that a machine worth hundreds of thousands of dollars could become useless overnight. Refusal to let one diagnosis destroy everything he had built. The next morning, before sunrise, Rowan began researching. He watched videos. Read forums. Studied technical documents. Night after night, after finishing work and putting Nora to bed, he continued learning. Days turned into weeks. His eyes burned from exhaustion. Coffee cups piled up beside his laptop. Most people would have given up. But single parents develop a unique kind of resilience. When someone depends on you completely, quitting stops being an option. During his research, Rowan noticed something strange. Across multiple online communities, owners reported similar warning messages. Many had been told they needed expensive battery replacements. Yet some eventually discovered the real cause was a tiny sensor buried deep inside the system. The sensor itself cost less than $20. The idea sounded almost ridiculous. How could a tiny component trigger such catastrophic warnings? Still, the pattern appeared repeatedly. For the first time since receiving the estimate, Rowan felt hope. Saturday morning arrived bright and clear. Nora helped organize tools while birds sang outside their modest home. The driveway became Rowan's workshop. The truck sat motionless beneath the daylight. Neighbors occasionally glanced over, curious about the ongoing project. Some doubted him. Others quietly admired his determination. For nearly 8 hours, Rowan worked carefully. He removed panels, checked connections, tested circuits, compared readings against technical diagrams. His hands became covered in grease. Sweat rolled down his face despite the pleasant weather. Several times frustration nearly overwhelmed him. Nothing seemed obvious. Nothing seemed broken. Then, late in the afternoon, he found it. A tiny sensor module hidden behind protective housing. One small component. One seemingly insignificant part. A part priced at just $14. The sensor showed clear signs of failure. Months of moisture exposure had slowly damaged its internal electronics. Rowan stared at it in disbelief. Could this tiny object really be responsible for all the chaos? Could something smaller than a deck of cards trigger a $200,000 repair estimate? The answer would determine everything. He ordered the replacement immediately. Then he waited. The following 3 days felt endless. Every hour seemed longer than the last. Nora sensed his nervousness. She tried encouraging him with little notes she left around the house. One note simply read, "You always fix things." Those 4 words nearly brought tears to his eyes. Children often believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. Finally, the package arrived. It was astonishingly small. After all the fear, stress, and uncertainty, the solution fit inside a padded envelope. Rowan carried it outside with trembling hands. The afternoon sun illuminated the driveway. Neighbors watched discreetly from nearby yards. Some had followed his journey from the beginning. Everyone understood what was at stake. Carefully, Rowan installed the new sensor. He reassembled the truck. Reconnected every component. Double-checked every connection. Then came the moment of truth. He climbed into the driver's seat. Silence filled the cabin. His finger hovered above the start button. For several seconds, he couldn't move. The possibility of failure felt overwhelming. Weeks of effort had led to this single moment. One breath. One press. One chance. He pushed the button. The dashboard illuminated. Systems activated. Warning messages disappeared. One by one. Every single one. Then the truck came to life. Perfectly. Smoothly. Quietly. As if nothing had ever been wrong. Rowan sat frozen. He looked at the dashboard again. No errors. No alarms. No warnings. Just normal operation. For several seconds he couldn't process what had happened. Then emotion crashed over him. Relief. Gratitude. Joy. Exhaustion. The weight he'd carried for weeks suddenly vanished. Outside, Nora began cheering before he even opened the door. She had seen the dashboard through the window. She knew. The truck was fixed. The neighbors started applauding. Several people walked over to congratulate him. One older neighbor shook his hand and admitted he never thought it would work. Neither had Rowan, if he was honest. But somehow it had. A $14 part had solved what experts claimed required $200,000. The story quickly spread through the community. People weren't impressed by the money saved. They were inspired by the persistence. The willingness to keep searching when everyone else said stop. The courage to trust his instincts. The determination to learn instead of surrender. Most importantly, people saw something deeper. They saw a father refusing to quit because his daughter needed him. Months later, Rowan's business was thriving again. The truck continued operating flawlessly. Life wasn't suddenly perfect. Bills still arrived. Challenges still appeared. Parenting remained difficult. But something fundamental had changed. Rowan no longer viewed obstacles the same way. He had learned that enormous problems sometimes hide surprisingly simple solutions. He had learned that expertise matters, but persistence matters too. He had learned that hope often survives in places where logic says it shouldn't. Most of all, he had learned that resilience isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about moving forward despite fear. Before we reach the end of this story, please leave a comment with the word resilient if you believe determination can overcome impossible odds. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences below. Years later, Nora would remember that sunny afternoon in the driveway more clearly than any birthday party or vacation. Not because of the truck. Not because of the money. But because she watched her father refuse to give up. She watched him face impossible odds and keep trying. She watched him transform despair into hope. And in doing so, he taught her one of life's most valuable lessons. Sometimes the difference between failure and success is simply deciding to continue one more day. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you of someone who never gave up, please like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your engagement helps these powerful stories reach people who may need encouragement today. Because somewhere right now, another parent is facing a challenge that feels impossible. Another person is staring at a problem that seems too big to solve. And maybe they need this reminder. Not every $200,000 problem requires a $200,000 solution. Sometimes, the answer is a $14 part, and the courage to keep looking until you find it.